My name is Isaiah Hurtado. I am one of the library staff at Marin City Library. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'd like to start the day off by thanking Barbara Lane at Barbara Lane Productions for her hard work and generosity. Without her, Marin City Live wouldn't be possible. I'd also like to thank Nasea West for donating her time this morning to join us and who will be our honorary host for the morning. Nasea?
The Marin City Library is very excited to introduce to you the Bay Area author Nancy Johnson James. Nancy is not only an author, she's also a student, an educator, a poet, and an So without further delay, I am very honored to introduce to you Nancy Johnson James.
Hi, everyone. It is a pleasure to see you all. Thank you for coming today and for taking time to spend time with me and this book that I've written. Brown, The Many Shades of Love. Thanks, Isaiah. If you don't mind for a minute, I'm just going to spotlight myself like that. There you go. Do you have anything brown in your house? I always have something around, like, oh, here's a brown crayon. What else? Oh, a little drum. Here's one of my favorite brown things. Of course, I have a lot of favorite brown things, honestly. But it's interesting to think about how common a certain color is, how it's around us all the time, and why it might be important. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that I can read the story to you. And then maybe we'll do an activity and have some time to talk. So we know this is the color brown. And one of the things that's important about this story is it's about someone who likes to make art and is inspired by the people they love. Are there any artists out there? Any people who like to? I see there's some creative folks out there. And there's some favorite tools for making art, like crayons, markers, paint, pastels. There's so many things we can create from, right? Nasea, what's your favorite art making tool? Do you like to paint or draw or everything?
I like to do everything.
Oh, cool. I know I surprised you with a question, but I was curious. Here's some browns to think about, and some of them come up in the story. This is some cinnamon and sand. And this is, I know I said the teddy bear was my favorite brown, but in truth, this right here, coffee, is my favorite brown thing on the planet. Here's a penny, some chocolate, another preferred brown, the bark of a tree, some beautiful autumn leaves. And this is a favorite brown because it's kind of like people, honey. And for, different reasons, honey comes out in different colors. It's basically, based on what the bees had to eat. I think we're ready. So Brown, The Many Shades of Love by myself, and it's illustrated by another Bay Area educator named Constance Moore, and she is an art teacher in Alameda. My mama's brown is chocolate. It's clear, dark, and sweet. My daddy's brown is an autumn leaf, or like a field of wheat. Brother's brown is cinnamon. It's spicy and so warm. Sister's brown like polished pine, fragrant, tall, and strong. Auntie's brown is desert sand, moving with the wind. Uncle's brown like coffee beans, a dark and fragrant blend. My cousins are just babies, all smiles and curly hair. 2 are like brown sugar, and 1 a copper teddy bear. Granny's brown like honey, and Papa's caramel. And my brown is gingerbread. When we bake, I love the smell. My family has so many browns. We're different and the same. I love to paint our shades of skin and give each one a name. I love my family. And that's the end. And I just want to go back. Thank you. Here's some browns to think about, some extra, some copper and light brown and tea and milk, butterscotch, pine. It's good to have these to think about because I'd like to do a little activity. Okay, we can all hold our hand up and look at our skin. The cool thing about brown as a color, if you're painting, is brown is kind of like the stuff in our skin called melanin. So if you're painting a person and you want to find their shade of skin, the sort of best way to do it is to start with brown. And if the person's skin is a little darker, then you add darker color. Add black and make it darker and darker. If the person's skin is a little lighter, you add lighter color. You add white until you find just the right shade to match that person. And melanin is pretty much like that in our skin. And the cool thing about it is skin is skin. It does the same job for everybody, right? So let's think about our own shade of brown. Can you describe your shade? What would you compare it to? Is it something you can taste or smell or feel? If you can do that, I'd like to invite you to type in the chat, my beautiful shade of love is what? So I might type, my beautiful shade of love is pecan. It's like pecan pie, which is I like a lot of sweet things actually, besides coffee, honestly. But anyway, moving on. So you are invited to type that in the chat. And if you'd also like to say it out loud, you're also invited to do that. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and remove the spotlight. Awesome. And if you'd like to tell me what your beautiful shade of love is, just wave your hand and we can unmute you and you can say it, or you can unmute yourself. Oh, I see some in the chat. Oh, Nasea, my shade of love is like caramel. And I see my beautiful shade of love is tea and milk. And I see my beautiful shade is peach honey toast. That's awesome. That's the first. My beautiful shade of love is tea and milk. This is becoming a really beautiful poem. My beautiful shade of love is mocha coffee. And at the end says, my shade of love is milk chocolate. My beautiful shade of love is cafe spiced with canela. Keep them coming. And if you've thought of your own beautiful shade of love, maybe you could think about someone else you know, someone you care about. What is their beautiful shade? Like my grandpa's beautiful shade of love was more like, sand, actually. My beautiful shade of love is caramel. Mine is dark light brown. I like it because sometimes our shade kind of moves with us. It doesn't have to be just one thing.
That's a really good point. I think in the summertime, if I'm outside more often, of course I wasn't during COVID, but now that things are better and I'm vaccinated, yay! Then my shade of brown will be different.
I see more. Oh, my beautiful shade of love is acorn and honey. And what's great about this is we can find a beautiful shade of love that represents the whole community. And we can think about what we love about ourselves and what we love about the people around us, which is always awesome. So I wonder if there's anyone. Oh, I see. My mom's beautiful shade of love is like caramel and mocha. I wonder if, would you like to hear the whole thing from the beginning? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Is there anybody who would like to read it, or you want me to do it? Uh-oh. Isaiah, would you like to read it?
Sure. Let me scroll to the top.
Sorry, I love to hear more voices than just my own.
Okay, I'll read it from the beginning.
Thank you.
My beautiful shade of love is tea and milk. My beautiful shade of love is peach honey toast. My beautiful shade of love is like caramel. My beautiful shade of love is mocha coffee. My shade of love is milk chocolate. My beautiful shade of love is cafe spiced with canela. My beautiful shade of love is caramel jack. Mine is dark light brown. My beautiful shade of love is acorn and honey. My nana was sepia, reddened by the sun. My mom's beautiful shade of love is like caramel and mocha. That's all of them.
There's one more at the end. My skin is bleached tan like a soulful piano. Oh, that came to me as a DM, so I love that. Thank you. Oh, my heart. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me in creating that. I just love it. And I love, oh, Judy Lindo?
Could I share something?
Sure.
This would be a brilliant extension for a lesson plan I learned from a kindergarten teacher in Vallejo. And what she would do is when it was anybody's birthday, she would they would paint a portrait of themselves, and the whole class would gather around. And there are some paints you can buy, you used to be able to buy, that were different skin tones, and they had names for them. So the whole class and would help that child, but the child made the decision about what color they would start with. But then everybody understood that you couldn't just start with peach. It didn't match that child's skin. So she had all sorts of little supplemental paints. And then the class would help, but it was basically that child's decision what colors they would add to make this big head that was their portrait and that would hang up for the whole week. And the kids loved it. But the idea of using words and adding a book to it would be extend it even more. So great story. Thank you.
I'm muted. Thank you. That's really awesome. I'm a teacher,
I could
so
remember her name. Sorry.
Wow. And I see there's some, oh, so many beautiful things in here. Orana's dad, Orana's beautiful shade of love is milk chocolate. I love that.
His name is Oran. He just came in.
Oh.
I'm blending in with the couch. My apologies.
So thank you again for that. And thank you for joining me in that. I just want to say one of the things I love about this area is the diversity of people. And I grew up in a very small town on the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. That was not very diverse. I think when I was growing up, it was maybe 1% people of color. And so living in a area like this and in the Bay Area communities, I just think we have such a tremendous opportunity to really be what the world needs. So anyway, let's do a little question and answer, I guess.
Yeah. Anybody can enter a question in the chat room, or you can raise your hand and we'll call you and you can unmute and ask your questions. I have a question.
Sure.
I'll start it off. What was the motivation to write the book?
I feel like it's sort of a combination of both my family and also my students. So, and I've had lots of, I would say both my family, my students, and my own experiences. And I was, not to go too much into it, but I was just thinking about how sometimes we learn, get negative messages about ourselves very early in life. And I was thinking about, I asked myself a question, like, what would have made a difference for me to hear from the community around me when I was 5? What would have made me feel good about myself? And sort of thinking about all of those things together led to my desire to write this particular book. And so it's sort of, sometimes when we think about healing ourselves, we end up creating something that's also healing for other people.
Very true. Judy Lindo wanted to know if you have children.
One. He's one 17-year-old. So he's still in bed on a Saturday.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I see someone waving.
Is that in Anna Wentz?
Yes.
If you have a question, go ahead and unmute. Mila Camacho Buford wanted to know, have you written other books?
Yes. So I have a book that's coming out next spring, and it's actually called Black, The Many Wonders of My World. And it's an exploration of the color Black. And then in spring of 2023, I have another children's book coming out that is about a woman who was a poet, a Black woman who was a poet from Kentucky in like 1913. And then other than that, I've also written work for more for adults, writing curriculum for secondary schools and stuff like that. So
Fun.
yes. Not as fun.
Shayla.
I just wanted to say that one page that had the little girl with the 2 Afro puffs on there, that looks exactly like my daughter. And I appreciate putting in, different shades, different caricatures of what brown is. And I love the fact that my daughter can grow up and see herself in a book, because we had a conversation with a few librarians who basically say that, growing up, they never saw themselves in books. You never saw brown people, in certain books, and the books that they are required to read in school, you don't see a lot of yourself in those books. So I just want to thank you, and I appreciate that as being, something that you did for that.
Thank you so much. What you say reminds me of how, when I was a kid, I remember my mom hearing about a doll that, some company had made a Black doll, and she drove 100 miles basically to try to get this doll and waited in line. And she wanted to get one for me and my sister, but there was only one left. So, but, just to say that we all sort of have a hunger for that, to be able to have ourselves affirmed in the world. And so anyway, I see and Mark Uyemoto's screen.
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes, I can hear you, dear.
Why did you make this book?
I made it. Oh, that's a good question. I made it because I want people to feel good about themselves and about other people.
Well, I thank you for that. It sure made me feel good listening to it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I see that Nancy Mendoza has a question.
Have you worked somewhere else?
Yes. So I am a special education teacher in San Leandro School District. So that's where I can be found most days.
Susan.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for writing this book. It's a wonderful addition to my library here in Kentfield, and I just received it yesterday in time for the presentation today, and I have been trying really hard to add to my collection so that everyone can see themselves. And it's something called mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors that I'm trying to add many diverse different books. And so this is a wonderful addition. And I was wondering if you ever do any Zoom visits to schools.
I do. It just the scheduling is the thing, but usually we can figure something out, sort of scheduling around my own class time. Yes.
Thank you.
Joyce, I see your hand up.
Yes, I think this is wonderful that Nancy and you have presented this today. I hope that the library will continue to offer the book in future on some other program, I mean, at some other time, to continue this sort of thing.
Marin City Live will continue doing author events. I believe we have one in May scheduled, one in June. We'll take a break over the summer and then we'll pick up in the fall again.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You could find
Thank you, Nancy. It's a lovely, gentle way of showing different colors, different reasons for love, and nice for the children because it's so simple. It's not complicated.
Yeah, I'm the branch manager here at Marin City Library, and I agree. I think that's what makes it so accessible to people of all ages. I mean, even littles, and you know, we work with a few preschools in addition to the 2 schools that we're embedded in, and so, but it's beautiful, and it's just, you know, it's so approachable on so many levels for so many ages.
Thank you. And I think that is, I like to encourage people sort of, we're all storytellers, right? And we can think about even when creating stories for young children or finding stories for young children, sort of interrogating the story and asking, you know, what does this story do? So there's what does the story is not just message, but what does it do? What does it disrupt? And what does it enforce? I have a good friend who's a local poet, Tongo Eisen Martin, who was talking about how poetry is intimate, and that when we use poetry, we enter into the thoughts of others. And I think that resonated for me a lot. And when we think about sort of critical literacy and critical literacy in early childhood, really sort of looking deeply. And I know right now we have a lot of debate about what books should and shouldn't be. And I think sort of the most useful way to look at it is just to think expansively about the stories we tell. And there's so much room for more stories to be told. I mean, if we look at just this group, there's room for probably hundreds of stories just in this Zoom room, just to be told. And as we think expansively about it, we sort of invite more, it sort of innately invite more justice and more healing.
I agree. I think I see one of our local storytellers in the audience. Is that you, Mrs. Williams? Are you Loretta Smith Williams? Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I remember you were here a few years ago and you did a wonderful telling of Anansi. And she's just one of our wonderful, very cherished local storytellers. So I'm happy to see you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I did get a direct message of asking which children's authors inspire me. I guess that's the other thing. I have sort of a big relationship with books, so it's hard for me to pick just one of anything. But I do enjoy the work of Yuyi Morales, who's also a local author. She comes to the top of my brain. And there's a, I can't remember who wrote a book called All Are Welcome that I love a lot. And another book that I just got is by Joanna Ho called Eyes That Kiss in the Corners. That's another book that's really dear to me. So I like books.
Yes.
And
Grammarly can help you write quickly and confidently.
I think there was a question earlier about us continuing to have programs. So normally we do have author programs in the library. Clearly with COVID, we are not able to do that at this time. But we're hoping, before the program started, we were talking a little bit with Nancy, and we would love for her to come see us in person, and for all of you to meet her. It would just be an honor to have her here at the library. So we're hoping to make that happen sometime later in the year as things get better.
Thank you. Thank you. Judy put the author of All Are Welcome in the chat. Alexandra Penfold and Suzanne Kaufman. Thank you.
Does anybody have any more questions?
I just want to say thank you, and I'm always looking for ways to bring in books and conversations about skin color and celebrating those differences. And this was a really great introduction. My son is 3, and will obviously interface privilege as a white person and may see differences in the way his friends are treated. And I want to have that language, and those conversations, and books are such a great way to get that started. And so such a helpful tool as a parent. So thank you. Yeah. And if you have, and the other ideas of books are welcome. And just, yeah, talking points and practice how to do this work and live and embrace the diversity and the beauty in all of us. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And I love that you mentioned language. I think that was really important to us to give kids, to broaden our language beyond just sort of the flat language that society assigns to us, like, white, brown, black. We're so much more. And when we embrace that, we begin to see our connection and commonality, just even the act of mixing paint. And I love connecting paint to melanin because it helps us to see that it's really just skin, skin is just skin. And we actually don't have to attach a value to it. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
And
I'd also like to thank, because I see her in the room, Cheryl Pop from Sausalito Books by the Bay. And I wanted to thank her for supporting us with the purchases of the books for the kindergarten classrooms here. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you're doing.
very happy to support the Marin City Library and the wonderful author events, the people who work there. It's a great program. Proud to have you in our community. And thanks for a great book, Nancy.
Thank you. And I see Mia Camacho Buford.
Hi, I'm Mila's
Hi.
mom. My name's actually Cristabel, but I named it for her. But I just wanted to thank you so much for being here and reading this book. It actually was perfect timing because I was just listening to a podcast about how important it is for children to see themselves represented in literature. And again, like growing up, I never got to see that. And I always make it a point to grab books that are gonna draw Mila in and she's gonna see herself in them. So this will be a book that we're gonna definitely add to our library. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've been adding to my mom. My mom's a preschool director, and I've been adding books to her collection over the years. And this is one that made it in a couple months ago. I guess
That's
maybe a month
awesome.
ago.
It's, one of the things I like to encourage both kids and adults to do also is sort of one of my other hats that I've worn is to do professional development with teachers and arts integration. So we bringing art making into core curriculum. And so, and Constance and I do that work together. I love that smile in this. Oh, sorry. And so that's something else I encourage, just the art making process of sort of drawing the world, drawing the people. Constance, in illustrating this book, intentionally made it look as though a child may have drawn the pictures, sort of connected to that. And I think that was a really important choice in the illustration.
So I want to mention, and I really appreciate the parents that have shared, and Susan, I think you said you're a librarian here in Marin County. Please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to share our book list with you. You can reach us at Marin, I'll put it in the chat. So you can reach us at mclibrary@marincounty.org. And then another thing that I want to share is that we do have a series of book sets. We call them Conscious Kids kits. And there are different themes. And one of the themes is Let's Talk About Race. So I put the link to that particular kit in the chat there. And then as we, we're always going back and re-examining, collection development and adding to our collection is constant. And so as wonderful books like this come up, we want to add them to those types of special collections that we have. So Nancy, I'm really going to be recommending to our children's committee that we add this book to that particular kit.
Thank you. I'd like to add, if you do, either in your teaching practice or just at home, or engage in any art making sort of inspired by this book, you are welcome to send it to me on Instagram. And
oh, awesome! Thank you.
And I think I'm N52 James on there, or More Jam Stories. I can put those in the chat.
Okay, thank you. I think Isaiah found you on Instagram. We were looking for you on social media.
Judy?
I just wanted to add a piece of curriculum to the curriculum I told you about earlier, where the kids painted their portrait. The teacher would always start out, she was very gentle. She would always start out, or often she would start and say, "What color do you think James is?" And the class would say something like black or brown or white. But she wouldn't say, "No, he's many colors." She wouldn't say that. We just started the process of painting the child and picking out the different colors. And the kids she left it to the children to discover that the child was not just brown or was not just white. And I thought that was my takeaway from sort of the goal of the class, is that the children discovered that we're all many colors. Just wanted to add that. It wasn't people out there saying, you know, he's not white, he's not brown, you know.
Mhm.
And the kids never felt inhibited about saying, "No, James is brown, but you know, William is black. You know, he's more black." They all wanted to talk about how they saw each other.
Mhm. And it is really important for children to have the opportunity to engage in that kind of dialogue in a way that is joyful and creative, and that doesn't have conflict attached to it. And so, and it's kind of challenging because as adults, we're sort of supporting them to create a world that we've never seen, and to sort of engage the world in ways that are beyond even how we do engage it. And so there's exploration there for us as well. Like, and so hopefully, right, the kids who are here now will have perspectives that we wouldn't have dreamed of. Hopefully my son will have ideas and perspectives that I wouldn't have dreamed of, because, you know, hopefully I'm providing that foundation for him. And I think the kind of dialogue you're talking about does that for kids.
And the other thing I just thought of is, I was thinking that would be like a 5-6 pre-K curriculum, but honestly, you could bring that into 3rd grade as a shared reading and just let the kids talk about it, you know, afterwards. You know, a short read, you know, to an older age group. Picture books, I think, are effective in older grades too.
And quite honestly, I've done some activities with adults in which I've asked adults to pair up and sit across from each other and to basically do drawings of each other without looking at the drawing, like looking at the person and not the drawing. And even every time I do it, it's like I'm astounded by how little we really consider each other when we look at each other. But when we take a 3-minute period and really look at someone, and then the next part is to take time to write a few words about what you noticed about that person. And so even with adults, it helps adults to connect in ways that we don't normally. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's just like a maybe 2 or 3 minute exercise to look at someone and really, really look. Yeah.
All right, does anybody have any other questions? It's 11:50 and it looks like we're probably going to wrap up. I really want to say thank you, Nancy. Your book is amazing and beautiful, and thank you for spending the time with us this morning and participating with us. And I really enjoyed this. This is my first Marin City Live, so you made it so easy and great. Please keep everybody keep following us on Facebook. You'll see our upcoming events. as we're at Marin City Library, home of the Web Stars. You can find us on Facebook and see our upcoming events. Thank you once again, everybody, for coming in. We will have another program next month with Ino Santo. Sorry, I don't have his name. So you guys can join us then. But thank you once again, everybody, and have a great weekend. This was an extraordinary event.
Thank you. Bye-bye.